Gary, if you were the vice president of Tennessee Valley Ice, who the heck is president?
Well, I feel like presidents are overrated. I think I'm sure you're the president of your company, and that's my case being made there. But I feel like people like Kamala and myself, we don't get recognized. So I'm trying to promote the office of vice president. Other than that, uh, my my dad was president, and
Mhm.
when he passed away, we had a lot to resolve to get the company back in order as far as the organization, and now we have, and it's not dotted and crossed, but I'm the president of Tennessee Valley Ice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Got you. We're going to take over to a photo here. So, is this your father?
That is my father. That is my mother. They started here in 1974. My mother ran the office. My dad ran the plant. And the first year in 74, they had an old man that came with the plant. And they worked him and myself. And in the fall, they laid me off and kept the old man because he came to the business. So I had to go out and find other work until I got to be full time in the business.
Not bitter though, right?
No, but as long as I still lived at home, so that made the difference.
So, Gary mentioned that he expected you may be the president. You want to share with him your thoughts?
Well, Jeff knows my thoughts. I don't give a rip about titles. I don't care at all. When I started the company, I guess I was 24 years old, and had a gentleman that was hired into that I had hired. He was a COVID. Not COVID. I got COVID on the brain. No, it was Hurricane Katrina. He was displaced by that. So hired him. He was probably in his late 40s at the time. And people would talk directly to him during meetings, and I was completely fine with it. I didn't care. So, I just want to get the work and do the work and do a good job at the work. So, yeah, I'm like you, Gary. I don't give a rip about the titles.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's not that he's shy about them, but I'm like, it's okay to refer to yourself as the owner. You are the owner.
Yeah.
But he likes to go by manager, I think, mostly.
Yeah, so. I've succumbed to saying, okay, managing partner. I will say that on occasion, but I really don't care. So let's just get the job done, which I know you're about business as well.
That way, if people have negative things to say about the company, you can say, well, we'll have to defer to the president at some point.
That's right. That's right.
Well, today we are joined by Gary and Tucker. Let me just go ahead and introduce these guys. Gary Bloodworth is the vice president, and Tucker Hill is the director of operations at Tennessee Valley Ice Company. Tennessee Valley is a full-service ice producer and distributor located in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with a location in Nashville as well. And they currently supply customers in Middle and Eastern Tennessee, Northwest Georgia, and Northeast Alabama. They're a family business that began in 1974. So congrats, guys, on your 50-year anniversary this year. That's quite an accomplishment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Tucker, I want to go ahead and bring you in and get you engaged here. So we've got a web page that we want to show real quick with your LinkedIn, and you have a pretty diverse background already, and looks like you've ascended fairly quick, even there at Tennessee Valley Ice. And tell us a little bit how you got to Tennessee Valley Ice. But as we're looking over your LinkedIn, I mean, from golf supervisor to your stint with Georgia Southern, just tell us how you got to Tennessee Valley.
Yeah, so I actually Tennessee Valley Ice is where I guess I started. Gary is my grandfather. So from the time that I was 12, 13, 14 years old, during the summer months, I would get to come up here occasionally. they would put me on the dock, let me, sweep the floors, things like that. So this was the first place that I ever worked. And it's really what built the foundation for where we are now as far as just work ethic and, we're learning how to work hard, learning how to do work right. That's really where it started. None of the other stuff on that page would be there if we hadn't started at a young age learning how to really work here.
So I have a question. So did your grandfather fire you like his dad fired him and you came back? Is that how that happened?
Luckily, I was in school, so I relieved myself before we got
I do have a question. If we can go back to that webpage just for a second, Jeff. One of the things that did stick out to me when I saw this was the Dr. Mom Show. And you're talking about here in your bio is just talking about, filmed, edited, and you also assistant produced. So that was something I wanted to find out real quick from you. And I would assume some of the stuff that you've learned, you can apply, whether it's in social media, other things like that, that you've done for Tennessee Valley. So I was just kind of curious about that stint that you had back in 2018.
Yeah. So I actually, when I went to Georgia Southern, I graduated with a film production and marketing degree with an emphasis in sales. So my actual intention was to go into video advertising. That was what I had aspired to do in college. So that is where some of that kind of came in. My wife, who actually now works with us, she was a nanny to a group of triplets. The triplets' mom was a pediatrician. She's actually a dual-boarded internist as well. And she had the idea to create kind of like what you were doing, but before really it was a podcast. Back then they weren't as popular as they are now, but she had the idea of, a 20 to 30-minute talk show coming from the mind of a mother to triplets that was also a doctor. And, being in the production and the marketing side of things in school and meeting her through my wife, we got together with her idea and we turned it into an actual production. And I was with her for 5 months before she decided to move. They moved to Indianapolis, and she actually, if I'm not mistaken, was picked up by a streaming network, like a education streaming network, and she was able to continue in Indianapolis with our show there.
Very cool.
Yeah, you need to have some type of show there for Chattanooga and have Gary as your star, right? So I see that as, that's got Hollywood written all over it.
So we did kind of want to ask some questions about family and work. And so I wanted to start with you, Gary. What is it like to have family members working for you?
Well, for years I worked for my parents, and now we've always had family members working together. And I've always said that we have enough family here to have a killing, because I used to quit regularly when I worked here for my parents. And I don't know if y'all have any family that you work together with, but family doesn't always respect you like they would their boss. And so, but I have to say, in all honesty, Tucker does. Tucker has been very respectful and very good to work for. He actually didn't want to work here initially. He saw how we worked. We worked such long hours in the summer, and we worked on weekends, and he didn't want any part of that. And then he went out in the world, and thankfully he came back, because without Tucker and people like my daughter, we would not have succession to carry on the family business. We'd have to do something else, considering my age. But so far, so good.
All right.
Well, we've got another photo we just want to share here. I believe this also with your father, and maybe a few years passed on you there, Gary. But how long ago was this?
That's a good question. That was probably between 20 and 25 years ago, I'm guessing. It's been a while.
And then we have you out with one of, I don't, obviously it won't be one of your first trucks that you guys had, but just another photo that we wanted to share here.
Yeah. That is the first new truck we ever bought. We were here for almost 30 years, and we bought wore out cold plate milk body trucks, and we worked on them as much as we ran them. And we finally bought a new truck. That was just like $2,000 truck because of the cost. But after that, we bought a lot of trucks. But before that, it was nothing but pretty worn out trucks.
I like how he just slid that in there. We worked on them as much as we ran them. Like,
right.
We did.
How many trucks are you up to now?
We're we're around 40.
Right. You guys aren't just in the Chattanooga area, though. Can you tell us a few other places that you guys have expanded to?
Well, of course, we have the Nashville plant. We run about a 75-mile radius of Nashville. We have gone into Alabama. We run as far as Huntsville and pretty much run, northeastern Alabama. We run. We have a distribution point in Jasper, Georgia, and we run everything pretty much a 75-mile radius of that. We run to the perimeter of Atlanta in that market. And we bought a guy a few years ago. Well, we bought a guy originally in Crossville, Tennessee, which gave us coverage in Middle Tennessee. And then we bought a guy in Murphy, North Carolina. And that put us in the Western North Carolina market, which is a pretty good market. It's protected because you just can't get into the mountains easily if you want to come in and compete. So we have a pretty good market there that we don't have a lot of competition.
Is a lot of this expansion recent, or is this just progression over time?
Well, it's both. We really forever we just worked and didn't, like I said, couldn't afford new trucks. But eventually we got to the point where we could start expanding. We probably started most of our expansion around 2000.
Okay. So since we're talking about family, we brought that up. I want to shift it over to Tucker real quick. And, we've got, Gary's take as far as, what it's like to, the respect issue, but that's high praise. I assume that you enjoy that high praise there, Tucker, or what's it like for you to now, to work in the family business and with family members?
Yeah. That was good to hear, honestly. Like I said, I started just coming up here really young. From there, I progressed, when I even started just running in our pickup trucks and our hot shots to where I was running route every summer. That got me through college, coming here and just hammering route out 6 days a week all summer before I went back down to Statesboro. And then, like you said, I did leave. I saw how hard it was. I saw how hard we worked. I was young and didn't really understand the reward and the satisfaction of the hard work still.
Right.
I just saw it as a way to make money to get back to Georgia Southern. And when I really kind of went out, like you said, into the corporate world and worked in logistics a little bit, which has helped me here some, but I saw the way that kind of the corporate side of things is, and I didn't like it. I didn't love it at all. So when I stepped away from that and started looking at other options, talking with Gary and just understanding a little bit more about what we were really about, it was a really tough decision, I think, but a good decision nonetheless. I could not be happier to be here. And I'm just, it's been great so far. We brought my wife on at the same time that I came back. She actually got her offer before I got mine. I had to use her as a bargaining chip.
I hear that. Right.
Yeah, I went after his wife because I needed office help, and then he finally came around and came back too. So worked out.
But
that's great to hear. Go ahead, Tucker. Sorry.
I was just going to say it's been tremendous, the growth, because think there's been a whole culture shift since I was in high school. There really has, in college even. And, you know, the guys here are tight. They're a family. Most of them now have been here for quite a while. So there's kind of a tenure that wasn't here when I was, you know, we worked a lot of summer guys then, but now we have a really tight group of people that are full-time that we can rely on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, without that, it wouldn't be possible having this core group of guys that are with us that are, you know, are here to help us, and we can rely on them more so than I thought we could coming into it. And that has just really, really helped out with our operations. And, you know, it's just made this process so much easier.
You literally took the word out of my mouth as far as the core and having the core group of folks. But another thing that strikes me, and I'm very appreciative, and I respect the fact of people that, you know, it takes time to realize that sometimes, I mean, you know, you can't just start with the flower. You know, you got to plant the flower, and to plant the flower, you got to get into the soil. You got to get your hands dirty a little bit, right? To be able to appreciate that flower that grows. So, you know, and that's in work and anything else. I mean, you can't just start. And I think that's one of the biggest things, like our college, our university systems do. It's almost, you feel entitled that you come out and you should start managing right away. Right. And that's, you just can't do that. I mean, and plus for you've got to be able to tread some of that water and, you know, getting the respect of the people that were there. Right. So if you don't know how to be able to handle it, I mean, so that's great how you've ascended so quickly, but, you know, you've put your nose to the grindstone. So,
yeah. So we talk some business, but we also mix it up with some fun questions. I've got a tough one here for you guys. I want to ask, while you're both on the screen, who is the better fisherman?
Yeah. He was in a fishing group in college. That was his contribution to sports in college. Was his
Okay.
the fishing team of Georgia Southern, which has no lakes in that area.
So
quite interesting too.
So we had a feeling that we would get that answer, but there's not as many pictures about Gary online. So I thought, who knows? Maybe Gary's the unknown secret fisherman, and we'll get a hot take. But yeah, we got a couple pictures of Tucker in there.
Do you enjoy bass fishing, Gary?
You know, I haven't fished in years, but when I do fish, I really enjoy it. But I just haven't done it. I raise cattle, and that's where most of my spare time goes. But Tucker is quite the fisherman.
I was.
Yeah, he was.
You have to stay at it. I mean, I've always said if they called it catching, I'd be a lot more interested in it than called fishing. So it's you know, my father was a big bass fisherman. I've talked about it a couple of times on the podcast. But what's the largest fish that you've ever caught, Tucker?
In the 7 to 8s, probably. I think the one you showed a picture of was a little bit over 7.
There we go. There we go. Again, we could bring up the image if we want to again, but again, force perspective, you got to get a little bit further out there. You got some elbow room. You're right here. You got to get it on out. So
it could have been a 10.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. You're an elbow flexion away from a 10. That's for sure. Well, we appreciate you guys letting us have a little bit of fun with that. So, you know, there's other part of the business I know, and Tucker, direct this at you, but you guys don't just deliver ice. You guys have other things like ice machine sales, leasing, repairs. You know, what do you guys, what's the other part of your business?
Yeah. So this is actually something that started during my break from the company. We pulled a route driver off of route. He's super genius, as we like to say. But his name is Reese, and we put Reese into a position to manage all of our ice makers, sales, lease, service, and he has just run with it tremendously. and grown that side of the business more than I think we could imagine. So a lot of people see us as one-sided. They don't really want to call us sometimes because they think the ice guys don't want, they want your ice maker to be down. They don't want you to have an ice maker because they want to sell you bagged ice. But we really are kind of all encompassing in the fact that, you know, we work on ice makers. If they go down, we will sell you one, we'll lease you one, we'll bring you bagged ice. We can, if it involves ice, we can do it pretty much.
That's very cool. We had the opportunity to meet Reese when we were visiting you guys a couple of years ago, and we're impressed with him. And
a go-getter, that's for sure.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, let's talk expansion. So while we were there visiting on site, that wasn't the reason for our visit, but we know that you guys were going through an expansion. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there comes a point where you either have to grow or stop. If you stop growing, you're shrinking. So we had to keep up with the market. So we just went ahead and bit the bullet. Really upgraded our plant to the point where it's as modern with technology as anybody in the business, because we basically had to.
The photo we're showing here is prior to the expansion, correct?
Correct.
And one thing that I recognize, I'm going to show another picture, and you can keep an eye here with the green awning on this building. If I go to the next one, that's the same part, the original, and this is all the expansion. Is that correct? All the way back to the back of the property?
Correct.
So what was it like to go through? Because as I recall, I'm going to go back to the previous picture. How did you guys, because you had to shut down your freezer, correct, for a while, and you had to have some flatbed, like flatbeds.
The whole dock
trailers
had to change, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Everything had to change. Can you give a little bit of insight? Because I know people that maybe have been through it. They can share in the misery that you guys went through. And I think you guys might have had a mishap or two if you guys want to talk about those. But long story short, what I want to just kind of get is for people maybe even thinking about expansion, that the things that they're going to go through, there's some gnashing of teeth, but there's a reward at the end.
Yeah, go ahead, Tucker.
Yeah, so we built this project in 2 phases. Phase 1, we were able to move through pretty smoothly, which was our new production area, which is in the far end of the property there. And that was just done pretty much on its own. And then we had a small shutdown where we moved our production from the old location into the new location. And that part was easy. Phase 2 came the following year, where we were actually going to expand the freezer, which involved demolishing the old freezer, while also continuing to run an ice company. So what we actually did is we brought in a 53-foot flatbed trailer, parked it on the back end of the property line, and then brought in 3 53-foot reefer trailers, and then put them in at an angle, kind of at a T. So that way we used that flatbed trailer as a loading dock. And we had 3 trailers lined up and then an open spot for loading trucks. And we spent an entire winter pretty much from, I would say, November through March, working out of 3 53-foot trailers as our main source of storage.
Yeah, right. And so during that time, did you guys have any issues with using those flatbeds, or did it go pretty smooth?
It was really cold that winter. There were mornings we had to come in with our big propane torches and defrost the ice off of the flatbed to use our pallet jacks to load trucks.
There is a lot of irony in what you just said. That is pretty funny being in an ice business, and yeah, that's funny.
So
Any tips you would share with folks that are about to start an expansion project? Anything that you think in general would be helpful to know?
I would say get everybody together and put your heads together. These guys come up with this idea for the flatbed, and we probably ran 1,000 pallets through those trailers, and they all ran on diesel. We had to forklift every pallet up to the flatbed to load and get all the input you can before you do it. That's all I would say.
Absolutely. It takes a village. We had 4 or 5 guys coming in every day, and just through the course of the day, somebody says, hey, well, what if we did it this way? Or what if we changed this? That was not a light switch overnight by one guy to bring in a 53-foot flatbed. It took days, it took probably weeks, and it took multiple people kind of putting their heads together and building off of each other to come up with something that was going to work. So have your core group of people and talk through everything with multiple people, and just have the ability to realize that your idea might not be the best one, and you will eventually come out on the right side of things with the plan that's going to work the most.
Any family fights?
Sure.
Yeah.
They're too polite. They're just like, yeah.
I could not ask for a better answer just then. So. Well, I want to shift it over to the family. Obviously, family run business. I want to give you an opportunity to both you guys. We'll start with you, Gary. Just talk about your family. Judy, gotten to know her quite well. And fun fact, one of those conferences for the IPIA, every time you guys came by the booth, I know you guys, but we had 3 different people win IPIA that whenever they call out for the tickets, to win some type of gift card, anybody that was in our booth at the time they were doing it, they won during hours. Now, we have been able to replicate that year after year, but Gary, you and Judy were one that was able to win that year. But tell us about your family. We'll cycle through a few photos, but tell us about your lovely wife.
Absolutely. Judy worked for Conoco until the late 90s, and somehow I convinced her to come here and work, and she did. And she came here and she took over the day-to-day office work for my mom. My mom still stayed here. My mom wanted to answer the phone, and she always wanted to be a part of the business as long as she could, and she was. And Judy did every bit of the office work. And when Judy came here, and this is, I guess, a shout out to RouteMan, we had all paper invoices, and Judy inputted all invoices. And I think that the strife I had over that is why we were probably I know we were one of the first customers that ever came to RouteMan, to David Wagner and Gary Underwood. I think Cassidy's Ice was ahead of us, and they said somebody in a sunglass business type business, and that was it. I think we were after that.
Yeah, it was. You were definitely one of the OGs.
Yeah.
But then Judy, she worked here for, I guess, 20 years, and then she quit me, and she won't come back. I have a hard time getting her to come by here. I mean, when she left, that was it. That's it.
She gone. So you guys are Braves fans, it looks like. Do you guys get to many Braves fan or Braves games?
Oh, not that many. We went down and spent the night at the Omni there and went to the Braves game. It's part of our bucket list, doing a lot of things like that now.
Yeah. How about here? Where were you guys? Was this at IPIA in Huntington?
Some convention.
Yeah, I think that was probably an SIE.
SIE. Got you. Another Braves photo here with the family. You want to tell us who's all in this picture?
Sure. That right there is that is my daughter Jessica on the left, who does payroll still for the plant. She's a parapro at a middle school where her kids go, and she does the payroll for this company. That is her son in the middle with a Braves shirt on, Colt. That is my sister Diane and Judy, and Kelly, who is also our granddaughter, who has been around here some. She's a school teacher now, so we don't get her around her to come here much anymore.
Have you put Colt to work?
I have tried. Colt's a piece of work. He's a little he's pretty autistic, and he's extremely smart in some areas. But physical work doesn't seem to work with him too well yet, so we're working on that. Quick story. He came up here one day when he was about 7 years old, and he found an old phone, a defunct phone that I had, an iPhone. So he said, "Can I have that?" And I said, "Yeah." And so he went and he charged it. He found a cord and charged it. And when he charged it, he connected it to the Wi-Fi here. And when he connected it to the Wi-Fi, he set me up a Facebook page. And when he set me up a page for my profile, picture, he took a picture of the Under Armour logo on his shorts. Now, he was just about 7. This is the kind of kid he is. And my daughter almost never got that page took down. It took forever. But I had some friend requests though, so I was pretty pleased.
Well, we got one more photo I want to show. This is a family photo, and one thing I wanted to ask is, I mean, we've got. I assume this is Tucker, but it looks like we got a rinse and repeat right up here. So who is this gentleman right up here?
That is my little brother. His name is Tanner. He is 5 years younger than me, and he doesn't like hard work as much as we do.
They're gonna have to be careful about who they invite to watch this episode.
No, we already know that they don't mind firing or quitting. I mean, it's okay. It's all good.
I can
I don't mind
about Tanner. But no, he is a hard worker. He does good for his. That is his wife next to him, and he does really well now. He works for the central office for the school system here, and he was an athlete. He played much better ball than I did. So he spent most of his summers at football practice, where I spent him on a route truck.
Right. Well, okay. I love the fact you guys talk trash. So that's a close knit family if you can talk trash. So that's awesome. So I do want to ask an icebreaker of you, Tucker, and then we can come back to Gary in a moment. But since you brought up, and you guys obviously have a good banter with family members and other stuff, but who would be of the family the most likely to call out sick?
Pass.
That was a long pause.
I'm enjoying. The longer this goes on the pause, the better the answer. So
at first I thought he was thinking like, what is call out sick?
Yeah.
I mean, we work every day.
That's a better question.
Well, fair enough. There's comedy.
There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, there is no wrong answer, and I think that's probably better than one if you gave a name straight away. So I don't know. Should we bring up the other icebreaker right now? Because I mean, maybe it could be called out something else besides sick.
I mean, you could go for it.
So, Gary, how many cows do you have? And tell us about your family. So, we hear that your farm. Sorry, yeah.
I was like,
well, I only have about 20 brood cows and a bull, and right now I've got about 17 calves on those cows. I tell people that I have enough cows to not go broke. If I had more, I'd be in trouble. But I have enough that I'm not losing my shirt right now.
Right. So Tucker, instead of calling out sick, does he call out cow? Is that you're trying to find him?
He is, as he should, taking more time to spend with the cows. Obviously now we're getting a lot busier, so he is here a lot more. But he is, as he has earned, spending a lot of time on the farm with his cows and waving at my little girl from the tractor, I think.
That's awesome. Well, good for you.
So totally unplanned question, but I know you guys are in the heat of summer. We're recording this June 19th. So, this wasn't recorded in the off season. Tell us about just how busy you guys have become just in the past week or two.
The switch is turned on. We just finished music festival and did 20 trailer loads this weekend. And you guys know the temperature went up here in the southeast, and we had really been idling at best. It had not been a great season, and now we're through the roof, which is what ice men see a lot of the time. And we went from 0 to 100 in a matter of days.
Well,
yeah, it's been hot here in Alabama for sure.
We really appreciate you guys still coming on the podcast, taking the time to spend with us and share with the rest of the industry, your experience and your thoughts. And we appreciate it, especially since it's so busy right there.
Well, and typically we do it in the evening. So again, pulling the veil back a little bit, we're in the AM doing this podcast. So these gentlemen are taking time out of their busy day, but you guys have busy evenings, busy mornings. I mean, it's just
weekends.
Always busy. It's never a good time to be able to do this, but we certainly appreciate that very, very much. You guys coming on today. So go ahead, Jeff.
Let's go.
Everything for our guys down there at KCS.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So let's go ahead and Tucker, let's look at a few pictures of your family and get you to talk through them a little bit. If we can pull those up here.
Yeah, give me a second. There you go, Jeff. You should be able to get that over there.
All right. So tell us about your family.
Yes, so that is my wife, Maddie. She, like I said, she got her offer here before I got mine, and she is doing a tremendous job for us here in the office now. When she came on full time at 5 days a week and some 6 day weeks. And I guess that was, October of 2022, we had Lucy. That is Lucy Lake. That is our first daughter. And since then, Maddie has now stepped into more of she works 3 days in the office and 2 days from home. So she's still close to full time. She's just not here as often. Like Gary said, though, he was talking about Judy, my grandmother, how she doesn't work here anymore, but she is integral to our operation because she keeps Lucy on the days Maddie is at work.
There you go.
It is like I said about him waving at her from the tractor. They like to wave at each other through the window. My little girl does while they're there, but. So Lucy stays with Nana on the days that Maddie's here at work. So she's definitely still a big part of the company, I would say. But yeah, those are my two girls. And then I see there you've got my dog Gus pulled up.
Gus.
Yeah, that's Gus. Gus now is giant.
I see that. Yeah, I mean, y'all are competing for who's got taking up the most space in the bed there. So
he's a 4-year-old golden retriever.
They are fantastic. We lost our golden over COVID. Now we got a couple of golden doodles, which I love goldens, but the golden doodles without the shedding, because you pay for it, right? Getting them in the bed like this, you're going to have a golden hair all over the place permanently, I believe.
Yeah, it's a full-time job keeping the hair up.
That's right. So got another one here of her. So, right?
Yes, sir. And that was my dad with her.
Okay. Very good. Now, do you get out and help with the cows any?
I did when I was younger. I really did. In the wintertime, we would work through the summer here, and then Gary would bring us on, and while I was in school, let me work on Saturdays out at the farm. So, I did a little bit of farm work, and I still try to help out whenever Gary needs a hand. Not as much anymore, just having the little girl and being here a lot, but I still enjoy going out there.
Right.
Tucker also does things on the farm that will work together with his sporting interests. He's planting sunflowers now to shoot doves over this fall. So when he comes, he usually has a little interest in what he's going to do when he comes.
Yeah, no, that makes good sense. So, well, thank you for letting us both dive into your personal side of your life. Want to kind of jump back into the business side of things. And, Gary, I'd like to start with you. The advice that you would give to, companies and, leading their staff, and whether it's family or whatever, what advice would you have to other folks?
Well, it's always been my belief that I will not ask anybody to do anything that I won't do. And I usually try to be out there with them. If we got a hard task to do, I try to do it with them. I'm getting to the point where I can't work like I could, but I used to just work extremely hard. I used to work too much, and at the cost of my family. And I really try to watch the guys, and I want them to have good family lives, because ultimately they're going to be a better employee if they have good family lives. And as I get older, it matters more to me how these guys do, how well these guys do, and take care of their families and go on with their lives. And the priority is not just the company; it's the employees and their interests and their families. And I guess I've changed over the years, and I'm pretty glad I have.
Let me just speak to one of the reasons we wanted to ask you that specifically. A lot of times we ask, what advice do you have for ice companies just in a general way? But we wanted to ask you about that because working with so many different ice companies, we hear a common theme from so many different owners and managers about struggling with their team. And you guys, the culture bleeds over to where we see the difference at a distance of teamwork. And it's not just that you're family members, it's that you foster a good culture in your team. And so we wanted to give you a chance to speak to that. So if you're a nice guy that is struggling with your team and you're listening to this today, go ahead and rewind the section and just listen again to what Gary said, because it's gold.
Yeah, and all we do here, I just supply my group with coffee just to hype them up. That's all we do.
Get them to work as hard as they can.
That's right. And when they crash, they go home, and we'll do whatever. But no, I would 100% agree with you that. So yeah, Tucker.
And what he's talking about there is kind of what I hit on earlier. I mean, I've seen it. I saw it. I mean, what he just said, there was a real shift in the 3 or so years I was gone. I mean, the people that are here now have been here, like I said earlier, but it's a shift that I saw, and it's a big part of what brought me back in was the shift and I think it was there all along, but really bringing it to the forefront, making it focus has really kind of changed things. We really care about our guys, like he was saying. We try to be involved. I like to talk to them about, what's going on at home. We've seen people, we celebrate with them when good things happen at home. Yeah. We really have kind of tried to make a family business become a family business, even for people that aren't in the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Whether I'm coaching, trying to give that family atmosphere with the kids I coach, or even the families around. I mean, we're a part of a baseball team right now with my son that, we just genuinely enjoy each other's company, and it's not all about the wins and losses. It's a lot of people, and you've heard the adage that success is forged in failure, right? So, and if you can remember how you failed and try to fortify yourself a little bit more, makes things better. I mean, that's whether it's at any level. So, I mean, Jeff and I are genuinely friends, so it's not just that we're awesome hosts of a BTI, but we genuinely like each other. And, I mean, do we have differences? Absolutely. But we know each other well enough that we talk through those differences, and, we figure things out. So it's extremely important, because if you're quiet all the time and you just let frustration build up, whether or not it's with us or with customers, it's just not a good recipe.
Agree.
So let's go in a little different direction. I wanted to ask specifically, you guys are one of the companies that that uses monitoring your ice boxes. And so Tucker, since it seems like you're kind of the lead on that, tell us about how that's working for you.
We have been using Route Ice now. I guess were you guys here in the fall of last year? So was it, or has it been a full year since then?
It's been a full year. Yeah. This fall will be 2 years.
Okay. So we started as beta testers with Route Ice with 5 sensors. And I mean, within the first couple of weeks, the places that we put those sensors out, we were already saving, mileage and time by not going to those places. So, we saw the benefit immediately, even during the beta testing. And now we are up to, I think we've got over 100 installed now across the board. And that's something that we're checking daily. We just found out on the new update how our drivers that have data machines can check their sensors while they're on the road. So, just constant improvements we've seen over the last year have made the product much better. But it is something we are actively using on a daily basis, and it has saved us time and money, in ways that we didn't know that we could have saved time and money to start with. It's taking a lot of the guesswork out of the route work.
Yeah, we try our best here not to be an infomercial. We really want to just bring solutions, things like that. Thank you for mentioning Route Ice. But, at the end of the day, it's about the industry and the potential shift that we may be seeing. And I do think that we're seeing, in our industry of monitoring the box and, because the fuel that it costs, we just had Bob Clark on before talking about, the cost of plastics and, just the, even though the raw materials is really the biggest cost of plastics, not the delivery cost, but that's still a large component. So for what you guys do and what Icemen do, delivery is a huge expense, what you guys have. And whether or not you want to go out there and having that choice, not just for a run out, if you run out, those are lost sales, right? Somebody else is going to go across the street and buy ice. Those are completely lost sales. But, you also have to be very sensitive to, should I go, if it's over a certain percentage. So is that a shift that you guys are seeing that you think is going to kind of change the industry, or what's your thought on that?
Yeah.
I absolutely think it's changing the industry. I think, as you said, diesel fuel, the cost of trucks. We've got new trucks coming in right now, and trucks are running us over. By the time we put them together with bodies and Thermo Kings, we're over $200,000 per truck. And I can't tell you how many bags of ice you have to sell to get a return on that investment. It's huge.
Oh, yeah.
And if we can save those trucks and not wear them out, not use all that fuel, and also save the driver time, and that's another thing. If we're trying to take care of drivers and get them home in the evenings, that saves us a lot of time. I had a driver in here in the office with me this morning, and we were going over his sensors so that he knew where he did not have to go, so he could cut that out, he could cut that time frame out and get down the road and get home. And this guy actually runs route in the area where I live, and before the sensors, I can't tell you the nights I've been sitting eating supper and seen that guy coming up the road because he was still out, because he runs a very rural route. But we're getting him in earlier now, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. So, a lot of the polling and the statistics that we've done here at our company, and this isn't just us, but this is talking to Icemen, that if you're doing anything less than $100 to $120 per stop, you're going in the hole. So if you're going and delivering at things that don't need ice, because they're at 70% or whatever full or 60% full, I mean, there's a significant amount of investment that's just putting that truck on the road. And you just went through the whole litany of all those different items. So it's important not just to, calculate the fuel. It's driver insurance for the the whole everything. And it's uber expensive for you guys to mobilize, right?
Yeah.
As Iceman. So the more that you can save and the more that you can have an insight into what's going on outside in those boxes, the better better for the whole company. So we appreciate you guys taking, because we see the shift, not only that we have an investment into it, but I mean, there's other competitors of ours. So it's again, this segment was more about just what you guys see, the shifting and the potential. So we appreciate you guys giving us some input. Anything else you guys want to add?
Well, and also, we can talk about the cost savings and how beneficial it is to Iceman on that side, but it's very beneficial to service as well. Being a family business, I've always heard about, we pride ourselves on service. Service is our number one priority because that's the only real thing that can set you apart from other ice companies. So, if we're seeing sensors that are low, I mean, we're bumping those guys up a day. If we're seeing sensors that have high temperature, we're sending service techs out before we get a phone call. They don't even know their ice box is down, and they've got a service tech there. So, I mean, it really, other than the cost savings, we're able to turn some of the rewards of the sensors back over to the customer in the fact that they're getting better service out of us. So, it's really two sides.
Yeah. I want to bring up one other thing. Hadn't really planned on it, but one of the objections, I guess, that we heard early on from some of the first folks that we talked to said, even if I'm not going to sell that much product at each delivery, I want my drivers FaceTime with the customer. I want them to know that we're there. How have you guys overcome that? Or do you feel like that's something that may not be as important to your customers as some people think? Or how do you guys think about that?
I think if they're there at the right time, that means more to the customer than anything. And some customers don't want a 24-foot truck on their lot when there's winter conditions. Right? So, I think that if we're there when we're supposed to be, I think that's better than having to be there all the time. Now, if you're in a very competitive market where accounts are being swapped back and forth and you're competing with companies, that may be necessary. I mean, we've had times when we just fought it out with other companies, but other than that, I don't see the necessity other than that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your insight. So, guys, we're almost out of time. I can't believe how fast these things go. So I've got another icebreaker, and then we'll wrap up with the last question that we'll gear towards you, Gary, being the vice president. So maybe we can get the president on next time. So, but, I'd be remiss. We're here in Birmingham, just south Birmingham, Alabama, in a city called Pelham. Chattanooga is in the east part of Tennessee. It is one of my favorite places. It's a short drive for us, about 2.5 hours to get up there. But I know people have heard about Chattanooga across the United States. I would like the lobby that we have more conferences. I'd even love to see an IPIA, other things, take notice of Chattanooga. I know you're extremely proud of where you live and the things that you guys have there. I'd love for you just to publicize your wonderful city and some of the things that you enjoy about it that maybe other people don't know, or just, heck, it's just what you love about it.
Well, Chattanooga's a good market, but not only that, you can get out of the city very easily. You can be in the country. We're drawing a lot of outdoorsy people who want to hike and climb mountains and people like that. I raise cows in North Georgia, and I can be in downtown Chattanooga in 20 minutes. And you just can't do that in a lot of places. Be fortunate to be able to get away and live out in the country, but still be in the city in such a short period of time. Go ahead, Tucker.
I mean, the city to me is it's the place to be if you like being outside, for sure. The rivers with the bass fishing and things like that. We've got some pretty renowned fishing lakes right here that run through the city pretty much. We've got one of the best aquariums that I think you'll ever go to. That's the one thing I point anybody that comes into town to is the aquarium. There's some rich history kind of with the Chattanooga Choo Choo. There's something for anyone pretty much if you wanted to come here. A lot of outdoor activities, a lot of beautiful scenery. The restaurants are phenomenal. I mean, just pick one and go, and it's probably going to be good.
I think it's what, Sticky Fingers that's down. I think it may be a chain, but still, it's a good chain. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you got baseball, you got Ruby Falls, you got the Incline, you got is it the Fat Man Squeeze at Rock City?
Yeah.
And you got mountains, you got lakes. I mean, I'm telling you, if you're watching this and you're curious of a place that you want to go that you maybe haven't experienced, I cannot recommend Chattanooga more. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So, kind of wrapping up, Gary, we wanted to ask you, who has been the biggest influence in your life, would you say?
The biggest influence, well, business-wise or just in general?
Either.
Yes.
Both.
You could give us one of each, or
Okay, sure.
however you want to answer.
Well, yeah, of course, my father was my biggest business influence. He really had a tremendous work ethic and instilled it in me, and that's how we stayed here. I always tell people we're not very smart. We just work hard, and we just outworked everybody. And the market came to us. You know, we like to think, well, we've grown this and done all this. We have been very, very fortunate that we have the business we do, and that we've grown the way we have. It's a lot of it's been dumb luck, but really due to hard work. There was a man who taught me in school, who taught me a lot about life. He was a fine Christian man, and he really poured into a lot of us young boys in middle school, or it wasn't middle school then, it was junior high, that really kind of shaped the way we ended up being. And his name was Larry Stokes, and I'm really thankful for him and what he took the time to pour into us.
Well, I have to tell you, Gary, I've known you for quite some time, and you are a very smart man. I know that you are being very humble in that, and that's you're a soft-spoken guy, but when you do speak, people around you respect you a great deal, and they listen up for sure. So I know I do, and I appreciate our friendship over the many years and business relationship. That's obviously where it started, but your family is just very kind, and it starts from a leadership. So I know your father, even though I didn't know him, had to be a great man, and the people that's influenced you in your life. So anyway, you're a smart dude. So we mix that with hard work. Pretty good recipe for success there. So both of you guys, we want to thank you very much. We're coming from the RouteMan studios from KCS headquarters here in Pelham, Alabama. We really appreciate both you, Gary, and Tucker, for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you fairly well in the fall at the IPIA. But if you ever need anything from us, please let us know. We thank you so much for joining us.
We'll let you get back out there selling some more ice. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Come see us.
Yes. Yes.